Well, it's nice to follow such lively change of pace and good singing, and I'll figure out what voice I bring to this collection here. So everyone has spoken a little bit about spring, and I think I'd start with a poem about spring because it's so in the air, even though every morning I tell somebody, please make the call and tell them that spring has come and they should change the weather. So this poem is called First Sounds of Spring. Worms working their way through the surface, chasing robins all over the yard, and pussy willows popping the coatings back in splits as the fuzzy parts take hold. Crocuses screaming and lilacs sticking their smells into everyone's face like they own the place. And then one blue jay saying to a red-winged blackbird, "Where you from, cutie pie?" But in bird language, which sounds more like, you know that noise a cloud makes when it's crossing the sky from east to west? That noise. And I just, got this book going. So this little poem, people would send me a PayPal or a check or something like that, and I would send the book. And so this poem is called The Book Business. I sent a book to a friend who lives up the Hudson River from New York City and wrote, "As they say in the trade, the book has shipped and is speeding its way to you as we speak. I think I can see it now. It has jumped on a boat and is running right up the Hudson, even in the dark." So it did not arrive yet, so she wrote, "Do you think the book took a sailing vessel or a speedboat?" So I wrote, "I hope it did not do one of those detours out the mouth of the river, along the Statue of Liberty, under the Verrazano Bridge, watching the cars above, over to Jamaica Bay into those estuaries that look like New England marshes, and putting its feet up, smelling the low-tide muck smell we now come to respect. I hate when it does that, but it sometimes makes waiting for it a little easier when it arrives for dinner with that sorry but excited look between the front cover and the back." And then I should have a love poem too, right? Because everyone's got a love poem in there. So this is a poem. I have a country house in Clinton, and so usually I go up for the weekends, then I go back to work in the city, but every once in a while I say, well, I'll stay and I'll go back Monday or Tuesday or something. And my wife went back, of course, to work Sunday night, so I'm there having that feeling of you're sort of alone Monday morning. You say, what am I doing here? But it will come to be nice later. So the name of this poem is called In the Air. In the end, nothing mattered but her smile. He remembered it in the shower, or passing a staircase, or by the garden where the rose bushes stood as thorns and sticks, still too early in this season. Inside, he felt it when he heard her voice, or when he smelled perfume on a passing subway, or left in an elevator behind. In the end, its warmth left him thriving, sustained, like toast, hot and crisp, with butter melting, nothing else to eat, nothing more needed, honey floating in the air. And we're near our house, we have this old shack, lobster shack, and there's a guy with a big beard that runs the place, and I always thought, he was a sea captain, a fisherman, and I started talking to him and discovered that he was in the book publishing business. He had like 1,200 publications a year working for the UN, doing all these kinds of things. And then he decided to quit and sells these lobsters. This is called Once in a While. By the old dock near the bridge, on the side where they kept the sailboats, opposite the fishing fleet, the lobster catch was emptied into the old shack and sorted by weight. Once in a while, a big old one got caught, maybe 50 years old or more, and they'd keep it around for its special value, until someone would come in wanting to buy it, or just because it was there, wanting to buy it. And then it was gone, killed off and eaten as if it were a common animal, instead of a something. And then the place returned to being just a lobster shack with maybe a 4-pounder or so on a good day. And here's one I wrote this week. It's called Of Dog Cables and Beauty. We used to have a friend that came up and they'd bring their dog that would run all around and everything. And so we found this little thing that you screw into the ground, you know, all the dogs did. Of dog cables and beauty. Your pretty face always says to me, welcome. Look this way with enthusiasm, for you will find symmetries to please your soul when your eyes catch my cheek. The line near my forehead, the angle of my nose, hint life is beautiful, morning is sober. You won't find solace in every glance, but consolation, an anchor to ground the day from strays. I see that cable we screw in tight into the land, going round and round deeper with each turn until somehow it's too deep, stuck now. Big pup can't pull it out now. His play becomes the loop, the length of wire holding him to ground, keeping him close, keeping him ours. And then I was, this is like a complete non sequitur. Had a very busy project I was working on, and there were a lot of business people and bankers and lawyers, and it kept going on and on for months. And finally we had to close it, and I had to go to like the Bronx with the assistant, and we all went up there and closed it. I got back to my office and I sat down and I said, phew, I think I'm gonna maybe write a poem. So I wrote a poem, and somebody else said to me, oh, I'd like to see that poem, thinking it had to do with all the work we were doing. And it had nothing to do with all the work we were doing, and I sent the poem, and then one person who had asked me for it, I never heard from again. And the other person who I talked to every single day, who's assistant and stuff, didn't respond until a day or so later. She wrote, yikes. So it was truly a non sequitur about anything. But it's called the 23rd Sonata. And it was sort of inspired by listening to Beethoven's Appassionata Sonata on the radio in the car one day. And I looked it up, and it was Sonata number 23, which struck me as like the 23rd Psalm. So it was kind of like the whole sound. Anyway, here it is. The 23rd Sonata. The day before, my mother rang me up singing Beethoven's Appassionata, first movement, like it was written for voice into the receiver. I moved the phone farther from my ear. Not comfortable having someone sing into my ear, especially something written for piano. Plus, she was dead 2 years. Oh. I listened like a good son, though, like a musician, the violinist at heart, and felt the Beethoven waft across my body like warm rage. What's that sound? My wife asked from the other room. It's your mother-in-law, breaking wind, I mean bread, from beyond the fringe of life. She thought I was a wise guy, but didn't retort, but ignored me. And I hummed the Passionata with all my heart and soul, with every fiber of my guts, like the day I was born, till the day I'll die. Okay. So, this is one from my book that I had, and actually have only been sort of a serious poet in the last 4 years, 3-4 years. And I went to hear a friend who I'd never met but had corresponded with and such, who was a very good poet. And she came and she was describing a trip she took to a museum where she saw something and said it, you said, you saw this thing and your breathing changed immediately. To which I said, wow, that's a poet who looks at something and her breathing changes and she knows that her breathing has changed. So this is a little poem about that. We'll start with that. The poet arrived last night in New York City at the university amidst great fanfare. She introduced the poem recalling how in a small museum, upon first sight of a 6-inch Daphne sculpture, her breathing had changed. After that startling revelation, all the rest was just words. And here's a little longer poem called Tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes, but it's here right now, in the living room with me, right next to my chair, the grayish one with the stripes from the old days in the office, when sitting in the corner in the cushy chair was like taking a holiday to Spain or Paris, even before the airlines needed to whisk you away to Saint-Tropez. I had a trophy there, an award performance, remembered fondly by the walls, the sheetrock, even the window, the fluorescent lights that watched from their off position the whole dance, played out against gray carpet, a few chairs and a table or two. Well, there it was in this setting, where those miraculous 40s passed by, where the power of our life was realized, where the strength of mature adulthood took its mark and left it in strength as powerful as we were going to be. That's where we made our mark. That's where we became from our 30s boy wonders on the move, to our 40s boy wonders having moved, life, art, music, sex, divorce, children, partnerships, new cars, new homes. All these things took shape in the 40s, so rich, so strident, so full of taste buds' delight, yet filled with the lack of self-awareness that only hindsight brings to bear. Here the 50s redound. What do they speak of but futures with a different sense of self? Futures with a less powerful push, with less oomph than I can do it. Oh, I can do it, oh yes. But sometimes, in the mirror of my shadow on the walk, or just watching the flip of a leg over a bike, I see the movement of an old man, the stiffness that places the fluid movements of youth into old man categories and straightens the curves and makes the leg less swoopier. It's a hint, but it's there. We've all seen old men and old women dance. It's that dance that wants to audition now for the new part that smiles, that says polydent instead of crest. We see it as not bad or sad, but changed so much that even autumn can be tolerated now. Even autumn that hurt me so in the past, that made me cry with its meanness, its stealing of the warmth of the long days, of the chirping nights. That mean, harsh autumn, all dressed up in fancy clothes, never fooled me. I hated its mean endings and its gifts of ice-cold gray streets. That autumn, that same autumn, comes now like an old non-friend, almost tolerable, sometimes showing its good side, its sweetness smirking behind its flash. And I can say, ha, here's old autumn again. He'll be gone before the night is up. Let's see his dress and his swank this year, because spring, our beloved, will be here before you can say blink. Because with age comes speed, comes life as a rollerblade wheel that spins in circles on its own momentum with no rhyme or reason, and that's how it is today. Some say, hooray. And this is one, a little one about bad theft. I had this bike forever, and I used to have an arrangement in New York City where you can never park your car, and I had a minivan, so I put the bike in the minivan. I could drop anybody anywhere they want, and wherever I found a parking space, I'd leave the car and get on my bike and go to where I had to go, and then go back and pick them up. Down at NYU at the theater. This is called Bad Theft. My bike was stolen tonight. My steady ride forever, taken with just a cut lock in its place.